All right, welcome in, welcome in. It is Tuesday morning, the 27th of June. My God, June is come and gone almost already, and it's time for an episode of Broncos for Breakfast. I am Nick Kendell, and joined by, as always, for the morning shows, Scott Kennedy. Scott, how you doing? I've missed you. How is life? What's new since we
I'm doing
talked?
good. You shaved. I'm like, is this Nick's younger brother? Who is this person? I don't know this guy. So hopefully I'll still recognize us. I know there's some familiar faces in the chat already. Looking forward to saying hello. And Nick, when I see a slight or something that just sits out of kilter with me, I get all fired up. Well, we got some things to talk about today, Nick.
Yeah, we absolutely do. And it's always good to talk about things. The offseason can be a little bit, ebb and flow, but we'll hear and as we will provide as much as you guys want and also bounce back with us. Obviously, we have things we want to talk about, but really the lifeblood of the show is what you guys provide content and we riff on it. So we appreciate the comments and the support. Drop a thumbs up on the way in if you haven't already. And let's say hello to some people in the chat coming in this fine Tuesday morning. We got Troy coming in with a bang. First comment here and a big 1999 super chat. Thank you so much, Troy. T-Money, thank you so much. Hey, guys, which improved factor is most important for more wins and close games this year? Special teams, fewer injuries, coaching, better offensive line, shutdown secondary, or something else? I think Scott and I are probably going to say the exact same thing here, but you say close games. That to me makes me think coaching. It's the margins. It's not the overall talent of the roster. It's, how can I absolutely put these guys in the best position moment to moment and just squeeze everything out of this roster that you possibly have. So to me, it's coaching and the close game factor.
And Troy, thank you so much for your support coming in early this morning. For me, coaching was the easy answer for me because coaching improves special teams, fewer injuries. You might not think it does. How does that improve injuries? Well, when people are coached better, they want to play more. When they see a sinking ship, my hamstring's bothering me today. I think I'm going to sit this one out. They seem to stay healthier when you're more competitive. That's not an accident. Better offensive line, coaching. You've got some players in there for sure too, but your offensive line, I believe, even with the same group of guys, I believe the offensive line would have gotten better anyway. The secondary is solid. Improve play from your quarterback. So I think the coaching improves. Not in this case, I think it'll be exponential. Typically, it can be marginal, but marginal increases across a bunch of different factors help you win games. Yeah. This time, I think there will be big improvements across against these areas because your coaching is going to be so much better than it was last year.
Yeah, I agree. And one here that, just tossing it out, but just randomness in general. Last year, Broncos had pretty bad luck in those one-score games. We have enough years and years of data to show that they can be pretty random. Now, that's gambler's fallacy to say that the coaching matters some. I even know a quarterback, just the overall culture of the team is part of it too. But there is some randomness in it. Now, that's why a lot of statistical analysis, there's like a variable for random noise in it. And that's some of the one-score losses as well. So hopefully the Broncos will have some better luck factor in this season, even though that is a gambler's fallacy. It resets every year, but I would assume better luck.
Some of it feels, I've told you this line before. One of my favorite all-time cocky, arrogant lines was from Days of Thunder with Tom Cruise. He comes off the track and Robert Duvall is the pit guy. He's like, hey, you got a little lucky coming out of that turn. Almost like he goes, if you think it was luck, let's do it again. I'm like, that's just the ultimate line. What a cheesy movie. What a great line. It's like, yeah, let's do it again if you think it was luck. It happened so often last year, Nick, and I know you can regress in one-score games, but it didn't feel like luck last year. Yeah. It felt like incompetence. It felt like chaos. It felt like disorganization. It felt like, what's the opposite of coordinated? It felt uncoordinated. That it just didn't feel like luck. Yeah. And I just think as a fan, you're unlucky because you had a team that was good enough to be in all these games despite the incompetence that we saw from the front office and the administration / coaching staff. So that should get better.
Yeah, it really should. So coaching is the big one here. We'll see how much it looks like. What would be your second answer on that one? Something else sticking out here? I mean, you talk about the margins, fewer injuries, I think would probably just how much of an impact it had overall. That have a massive impact on the one-score games turning out better as well, because then you just have better talent. But does anything else stand out to you? Is there
The
maybe something
offensive
not
line
listed?
would be my second pick.
Yeah.
Let me. I just think the offensive line would be my second pick on that one, just
Mm,
because. Again, we've talked about Russ. Russ didn't play well. Russ didn't do this. Well, it's tough for me to get an idea of where Russ is as a quarterback with the way that the scheme was last year. I mean, I say scheme kind of loosely. I
mm,
just meant the way the plays developed. That's what I meant by scheme. There wasn't really a scheme last year. And the developing of plays was snap, run for your life, snap, handoff, get hit in the backfield.
yeah.
That you couldn't do anything. You know what? It's like, what's your bread and butter? What can we go to? What's 1st and 10? I'm going to get 5 yards. What could you count on last year? Until you had, Latavius Murray, I knew I could at least get 3 yards and push a pile forward. And maybe I'm
Mm.
looking at 2nd and 7 instead of 2nd and 12. But the offensive line, I think, should be the next biggest improvement because, frankly, all of these things we're mentioning will improve your quarterback play.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson might not be 9-time Pro Bowler, but he's not going to be the guy that they saw last year. It's not going to happen, Nick.
Probably not. Yeah, just hedging our bets a little bit there. But yeah, no, I agree with you completely. Let's say hello to some people. And thanks again, Troy. 1999 is a big help for the show. We got Dave Glassman coming in with the hearts. Good to see you, Dave. Mark Schrader, always a big supporter of the show. Saying good morning, all. Good morning to you, Mark. Jeremy Sean saying morning, boys. Media narratives are a changing. They are a changing until they're not. So maybe I'm the pessimist this morning. Maybe it's the lack of sleep. But I can, we can go back a year ago from now in the episodes and like Broncos, dark horses in the AFC, contending with the Chiefs. It's a lot of fluff and projection until you see it on the field, and then you really know. So media is a changing, but it would turn around and be negative again real quick if things go off the rails with Russell Wilson, because as we saw last season, they love to dunk on Russell Wilson when things are not going well, and it was over the top last season without a doubt, but he was dreadful, so some deserve it as well.
Yeah, and the pile on was, again, was the quarterback gets more attention than anybody else anyway.
Yeah.
2, you made a high profile move and you pushed for it. He helped engineer his way out of there. And when you do that, there's a lot of schadenfreude that goes around. There's, for the media, I like to say, a lot of the media that covers media, they don't like athletes. They just don't. I saw it during the pandemic more than anything was the turn on the athletes. But they love to kick a guy when he's down because frankly, they grew up jealous of these guys, but that's a different story. But yeah, they enjoyed a little schadenfreude of, and for those of you that's, if you don't know what schadenfreude is, that's taking pleasure in the misery of others. And yes, that's a German word. So when he engineers his way out on a high profile move from a franchise, it's disloyalty and it's just all this BS. These guys have a right to move if they want to. Well, you'd think they do. That they piled on. They piled on last year. I think that aspect of it, Nick, will be dead. I think that'll be gone. It's like we've kicked this guy when he's down, kick. He's gone from Seattle for over a year. He's a Denver Bronco now. Let's move on from that part. That I just don't think you'll see it. Even if he struggles mightily, you'll see it more from the Broncos fans now. If there's a problem, you'll see more internal problems than you did the external noise.
And I gotta say, if it was, as you mentioned, if he struggled again this season and they didn't talk about it, maybe it goes from a worse place, from disappointing, disheartening, getting kicked to completely irrelevant, not even being talked about. At least we were bad last season, but in the mouth. So if Broncos are equally poor this season and not being talked about in the same vein, it means that they don't care. We're not, getting the attention, which rightfully so, probably. I mean, that we don't want to be in as many night games as last season, right? In hindsight, but
You've
that
heard
would
me
be
say it
worse.
before. What's worse than anger?
Apathy.
Yep. Loved, hated, but never ignored. When you're ignored, when you're apathetic, then you're done. It's over. Over with a capital O.
Yep. And we're not ignoring US Dave, saying we got to get better because we can't get worse. Absolutely. Zach Powers in the house. Also a big time content contributor for the chat. We appreciate that, Zach. Morning. Good to see you with the coffee. Our guy, Philip Hagginson, out here saying, morning, guys. Hope you're doing well. Bama X in the house saying, good morning, Broncos country. Hope you're doing well, Bama X. Chase Wellner saying, howdy, y'all. Howdy to you, too. Good to see you. Keith Brugman, go Broncos. Good morning, Nick and Scott. Good morning to you, Keith. Marcus Orange. I don't recognize this name. Let me know if it's Marcus or Marquise. Okay.
Mhm.
Heard both, but Marquise
I
Orange.
grew up with Marquise Grissom. That looks like a Marquise to me. Marquise
Oh,
Grissom was a fantastic baseball player.
okay, that's a little bit before my time. I'm not ringing a bell, but baseball. I don't even think there is a baseball season this year, given how bad the Cards have been. So we can just push
They're
right
playing
along.
pretty good baseball here in the South.
Yeah, they not so much in the unfortunately in the gateway city to the Midwest. But what can you do? Roy Osborne saying good morning, Nick and Scott. Missed you guys. Been injured myself. I'll hope you feel better soon. Now I'm bored at home, so no better way to kill the boredom than watching you guys. Well, I mean, we have probably, Scott, how many hours, minutes do you think they have recorded of us dating back to the years that we did this? I
You
mean,
hit YouTube. We've been doing this 3 years, twice a week on an hour. That's 100 hours. We're probably 250 hours or so.
maybe
Oh, and I
even
forgot
more.
my show.
Yeah.
Our show on my channel. So you could probably dig up 300 hours, Roy, if you wanted to.
Go back, critique, see how wrong we've been about things. That's
Oh, we
maybe
own
don't go
those
back.
though. We will absolutely own them. We're not
Yeah.
here. We're not the hey, look at me type. Maybe we should be. We'd be bigger, but I'd still rather be authentic.
Yeah. Nope. And always, looking to get better, see what you got wrong, and nobody gets it all right. Dominique Martin, hey, Broncos family, just stopping by to show some love. We appreciate that. Catch the podcast after I get off work. Getting some overtime currently. All right, get that money, Dominique. It says MHH for life per usual. And if you guys like Dominique, you're busy today, then you can find us on Apple iTunes, Spotify, YouTube. Listen to it afterwards and drop a comment still. We appreciate that. You don't have to just be live. We always appreciate the people coming in live. But while you're doing that, leave a 5-star rating and review over on iTunes or Spotify or wherever you're listening to the podcast after the fact. We would greatly appreciate that. Also, MHHmerch.com. Get your swag on. I got the Broncos, building the Broncos, our Broncos for Breakfast hat on, building the Broncos hat behind me, all that good stuff. So check it out. We got the mugs, of course, as well. Always a lot of fun. We got Lawrence Rivera coming in here with the stars saying, I'm just happy no one's hurt yet. What's up, guys? Good morning. I know that Samaje Perine did have a kind of a scare with his thumb, but it sounds like it's all good. No issues there. And excited to see what he can do. And I know that you brought him up before the show. It's a little bit of Samaje Perine.
Yeah, we can talk some fantasy dynasty rankings too if we get through our topic or whatnot. The PFF came up with the top 300. It's the first time I really looked at something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I search for a couple players I'm interested in, and then I do a Control F and hit Broncos and scroll down. And Samaje Perine comes in at running back 48, 137 overall. I just text my friend who I've been a consultant to for years and said, pick up Samaje Perine late if he's there. If you can get him 10th rounder later, which 138, 12-team league, 138 would be in the 12th round. If you can get him 11th or 12th, pick him up as insurance because he could end up being the number one for a few weeks. And I think that would be a really good sleeper type pick.
Yeah, one of those guys that maybe, has a big game early on in the season, and then you flip him for much better value, not to be
trade him for a draft pick.
Too dark. Yeah. Now you're talking. God, a future draft pick even. But yeah, that's definitely Samaje Perine. Glad to hear that he is doing well, and hopefully the Broncos can continue to stay off the injury bug. It's always that time in between mandatory mini camp and training camp where some funkiness can happen from injuries to extracurricular activities off the field. Summertime sometimes, hanging out late, doing some stuff. It's hot out. People can do some stupid stuff. But
yeah,
hopefully
when you've
Broncos
got the off days. My son's
Yeah.
playing football for the first time this year. He's a baseball player and he's played soccer. He wanted to play football, so I think my wife on Friday night before the weekend is like, "You need to go to bed. You're gonna have to get used to getting up early again." And I was like, "You don't have to worry about a summer football player going to bed. I promise you that." He's 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
He's asleep on the
Exhausted.
couch. Off season though, these guys kind of get after it a little bit. So be responsible. And thank you for the stars, Lawrence.
Yeah, and what was it? I saw ESPN stat that released a few times. Broncos have been one of the most arrested teams over the last 5-10 years. So stay out of trouble, boys. And I know that Sean Payton's going to have very little patience for that. Although
Tolerance.
I did see, tolerance. I did see that. Oh gosh, who was the 7th round draft pick that they took last season that was arrested or had a warrant out for his arrest? The guy from Faion Hicks. Faion Hicks was at mandatory minicamp, and we thought he'd be gone after his run-in with the law. So I don't know. We'll see what happens here with Sean Payton, but stay out of trouble,
I don't remember him being all that tight of a disciplinarian, honestly.
Yeah.
At New Orleans. But the
If you
thing
can
is,
play,
I
you can
don't
play.
remember him being a hypocrite about it either.
Yeah.
He was like, "Yeah, we're here to win football games." He just always struck me as kind of a mercenary type,
Mm.
and wasn't necessarily worried about having a bunch of choir boys. Which if that's your team, that's fine. And again, I don't mind that. Just don't Bobby Bowden me or Urban Meyer me telling me how we're going to do it better and cleaner and oh, by good God and all this kind of crap. Meanwhile, we got guys, shooting up liquor stores.
Yeah.
I don't mind an a-hole. I can't stand a hypocrite.
Yeah.
I've told y'all before, Sean Payton's kind of an ass, but
Yeah.
he's your ass.
Gotta love it. Always love those ones. Spacious Rift coming in saying, good morning, Nick and Scott. Haven't caught a live show in 2 years. Well, God bless. Today's a good day.
Well, welcome back. Great to have you here.
Y'all make the morning easier. We do like to hear that as well. I don't think there's much content producers up this early, definitely on the West Coast. So God bless you, unless you're doing those crazy early morning radio shows. But we appreciate you coming in, Spacious Rift. Hope you're doing well. And hopefully we'll see you again, not 2 years from now. We also got Troy Bauer saying when there's a lull in the offseason, dog photos on recent hikes would be welcomed by me, but not by others. Well, appreciate that. Definitely I'll be hitting up the hiking photos here soon. Next big trip. Might be climbing Mount Adams here. We'll see. I have a huge trip coming up in Idaho also at the end of July, so that'll be a lot of fun as well. Wang Chung saying, hello, Broncos for breakfast. I'm currently learning how to live life as a puddle as it's reached 110 degrees here in El Paso. My God, that sounds absolutely horrible, but at least you have air conditioning. Just imagine if you didn't have air conditioning. So live that up.
I just finished Echo Burning, which was like the 4th Jack Reacher novel, and it was set in West Texas, out in the plains, and it was always burning because it was like 110 degrees out there. So I'm thinking of you. The summer is arriving this week in the South. It's been unbelievably mild in June, mid-90s this week, moving forward, probably till October. So summer has arrived.
We had a bout of it was called the Heat Dome in Seattle 2 years ago, and it got up to about 116, 117. And we don't have air conditioning.
That's deadly.
That's deadly. People did die. Yeah, people did die. They were using body bags filled with ice to cool people's internal temperatures down so they didn't have heat strokes. So that sucked. Air conditionings are definitely becoming more of a thing out here in Seattle with the changes in the world right now. But
I just paid off one of mine. I've got more air conditioner than I have cars at my house.
God, pays to be comfortable. That's for damn sure. Nick Lujan coming in here saying, would you guys give up Jerry Jeudy for Josh Jacobs or Saquon Barkley? Man, I don't think I would, just because of the longevity. You're talking about 2 running backs that would already be on their second contract, this many years in. And typically, I'm of the opinion that you don't give running backs second contracts if you can help it. So giving up Jerry Jeudy, who's more of an ascending asset, probably has 5 to 7 years left of
he's 23
good play.
or 24 years old, isn't he?
Yeah, I think typically I still think 30 is the age where it's like,
but he's
we'll see.
Young.
So yeah, he's young, so I would not give up Jerry Jeudy for one of those guys. Also, Jerry Jeudy still has 2 years of relative cost control compared to those guys that are going to be expensive running backs. So you're paying more for a position that you don't typically pay a lot for, and Judy's a bargain compared to what his output is or his value is. So I would not do that trade personally, even though Jacobs and Barkley are better players than Jeudy. Positional value in the contract has to come into play here. Also, Barkley has the knee injury as well. That is a factor that you have to evaluate.
Yeah, Nick Lujan, I think it's Lujan. Since there's 2 Nicks here, the answer for me is pretty simple: no. Not right now. And forget contracts. You got 1 year left on Jeudy, and you could get maybe 1 year on Jacobs or Barkley. No, I wouldn't. I can't see really any upside to that. You need a wide receiver more than you need one of those guys as a running back, in my opinion. I know there would be some that disagree with me, but I just think it's easier to get production out of the running back than it is out of the wide receiver spot. And Jeudy is starting to justify his number 1 pick status. Don't bail on him now. So not for me. I would not make that deal 1 for 1, even if contracts were equal.
Yeah, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Now, if there was, let's say it was Barkley and he was entering year 2, or Jacobs entering year 2, and you still had 3 to 4 years of control left with those guys, I mean, that's pretty much the window you're looking
trading
for.
Contracts, though.
Yes.
But then I've got 3 years of on a rookie deal, and you don't. You've got a guy that's coming up on a 5th year option with 1 year left.
He's
2
got
years
2
of
years
control
left.
right now, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah, 2 years of control right now. And then you've got guys that are playing on tags. Well, haven't signed their tags.
Yeah.
That are tagged. So even if you just said, like I said, 1 year for 1 year. Now, if I'm trading contracts, I've got 1 year left on this guy, and I might lose him for nothing. But that's a discount. You're trading him at a discount. You're selling low as opposed to, I don't want to lose him for nothing, so I'm going to have to move him. Well, that's not the spirit of this question for me. The spirit of me is which would help my team more, and for me, the answer is Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah, but if it was like just the point I guess I was getting to here was if it was Jerry Jeudy for Bijan Robinson, like without a doubt, I am taking Bijan Robinson, even though he's a running back. The years of control that you'd have left, the ability. I mean, Falcons are using him at wide receiver too in some sets out there, right? So I mean, he'd be incredible, and we've seen what Sean Payton's done with some versatile running backs, but just with the age, the contract status, the tread gone on those two backs, just doesn't make sense where the Broncos are at right now for a team also that isn't, 1A level running back away from competing for the Super Bowl, which I don't know if any team has ever won a running back away from winning the Super Bowl. We kind of saw the Chiefs, what was it, 3 years ago when they drafted Clyde Edwards-Helaire, like this is the final piece of their offense. Should have taken a defensive player, should have taken an offensive lineman, should have taken something.
Roderick's a Falcons fan from the UK. Check in. He says, "Hands off, Nick." Yeah, I think the Falcons are going to be they're going to be pretty happy with Bijan Robinson. Got into it a little bit yesterday about expectations for the rookie running back, and I was like, basically, if you take a running back that high, he better be an immediate impact player. If not, there's no reason to take a running back that high because, like you said, throwing it back to Nick's question about Barkley, about Jacobs, I don't want to sign those guys to long-term second contracts. So they better. I can't break them in. Running backs can't have a break-in period. That said, Jeudy, now, could you end up playing? We saw some high-profile wide receivers getting moved last year, especially Devontae Adams. Was it Tyreek Hill for big compensation?
AJ Brown
got nice compensation too. So one more year, you can trade Jeudy with 1 year left on his contract, and you should be getting more than a rent-a-back.
Yeah, without a doubt. So we'll see how it plays out. Keith coming in here saying, how is our competition in the AFC West looking this offseason, draft signings, etc.? Well, the Broncos did pretty darn well, and it's hard to say they didn't improve the most, given the difference going from the last coaching staff to this coaching staff. Also, the expenditures on the offensive line. They really went for it in terms of recrafting, recultivating the offense. So I think you'd have to say the Broncos probably improved the most, in my opinion. I'm definitely closer to the Broncos, so maybe there's some bias there, but everybody's still chasing Kansas City, and I think there's a pretty big gap between them. I think the most interesting storyline this year, besides the Broncos and the AFC West, is probably the Chargers. 1 year left with Justin Herbert's contract, a team that kind of eked into the playoffs last year and really crazy blew it against the Jags, and a team that's pretty top heavy, and Brandon Staley's status with that team. Chargers are not, it's not a surprise or not known that they're a pretty cash poor team compared to the other NFL teams. And what does that mean for Justin Herbert's contract coming up here? So Chargers are very fascinating as well in the AFC overall landscape.
The Raiders are a mess.
God, yeah.
We'll see. We'll see. I don't have a lot of faith in them. Maybe that's part of my bias of I don't particularly like Josh McDaniel. I don't even know what his last name is. It's either an S. It's Josh McDaniel.
No, it's McDaniels.
McDaniels. Okay. See?
And then the one without an S is Miami, Mike McDaniel.
Okay.
Yeah.
Josh McDaniels. I'm not a fan at all. And that's from the outside looking in. I don't even have the personal history that y'all do. So you've got even more reason not to like him, and not just not like him, but just not think he's worth a damn. The interesting thing for the Chargers is Herbert had a below average year compared to the 2 years he had as a rookie and as a sophomore. And last year he was like much less production, but the team, he won the most games, 10-7 with a worse Justin Herbert. Now that tells me one of two things or parts of both. One, they're a better team. We're not relying as heavily on him. Two, if he comes back to his 3,800, 4,000, 4,500 yards and 30 touchdowns, that 10-7 could all of a sudden become 11-6, 12-5, and they could be a really dangerous team. So I think, the Chiefs are the Chiefs. Until someone knocks them off, they're the freaking Chiefs. Your competition is the Chargers and Raiders. I like you better than the Raiders. The Chargers are going to be, you still got a hurdle there to climb.
It's a tough one. Broncos always play them tough, though. I don't know what it is. They just doesn't.
I'm looking at standings, not necessarily game to game.
Yeah, without a doubt. Facebook user coming in. This is actually Benjamin Flores, saying born in Phoenix, been hiking through summer at 105 temps for as long as I can remember. Desert dog. Woof. That's a God bless you for that. Gary Palmer talking about God bless. Good morning, Nick and Scott. Didn't miss too much. No, you didn't. We're just hanging out, having a good time. Go Broncos and Buckham. Awesome to see you. Shandy coming in saying I want to see Pookie come back and get player of the year and a breakout 1,000 yards. Comeback player of the year is definitely possible. So hopefully we'll see what happens there. We also got Zach Powers coming in saying, how do you guys see the defensive line and edge room shaking out? This could be its whole own episode. And we've talked about it a good bit about the defense. So, I mean, who are guys that are highlighted that we're hoping to have breakout seasons that have not had so yet?
Well, it's going to be Frank Clark, and it's going to be Randy Gregory.
Yep, Randy Gregory staying healthy.
Randy Gregory is going to stay healthy this year.
Yeah, God. That's the one, right? Zach makes a good comment here. Jonathan Cooper apparently has had some praise coming out of mandatory minicamp, so we'll see what happens there. He's definitely got a chance to be that third edge rusher, a little bit more of a outside linebacker body type versus Frank Clark, so maybe we'll see him more in base packages early on. And then you have two really big wild cards from that 2022 draft class that have a chance to take steps forward this year, and God bless it, the Broncos need him. Nick Benito, last season, number 64 overall draft pick, had some flashes last year, has the ability to get after the passer, but needs to become a more complete player. This is a huge year for him. Year 2, if he doesn't show signs of life, then you might have to put that B word on him as a pick. And you also have a Wuzurike. Right now, the Broncos defensive line depth is questionable, to put it lightly. We're not sure exactly the exact role of Zach Allen, inside, outside, maybe a little both. Maybe he can help cover up some of those questions on the interior defensive line, but outside of DJ Jones, you got Mike Purcell, who's solid, does a job, but is, aged and injured a lot. So after that, it's who knows? So Uzurike and Benito, Broncos defensive front need those two 2022 draft picks to step up.
Yeah, they do. But Cooper to 0, it's one of those, you better step up. You put a 56 on as a linebacker. You can't be just a jag. A 34 on a running back, maybe, that to me, 34 is the running back number. That may have changed to a different generation, but 34 was the running back number for Gen Xers. But 0 is kind of cool. It's definitely bringing attention to yourself. Now you better go earn it. So that's a good call, Zach. I don't know. He's down the depth chart. So it feels like, has he missed any time with injury? I don't think he has.
Cooper, it's not an official depth chart. Like what you're looking at is probably our lads, and I think he's going to be higher up based on.
No, I mean, just he's down on the depth chart as far as playing time the last 2 years.
Oh yeah, I mean he's been behind Browning and Bradley Chubb and Randy Gregory, but he's had he's been about the third or fourth edge rusher, I'd say, pretty consistently. Worked his way up there in terms of the snap count. But this year he's probably at 3 right now because Browning is out. I think he's best as a probably about a 4, but he's a talented, tough working player and probably one of the better return on investment picks the Broncos have had the last couple seasons. Giving him, what was he, a 6th rounder, 7th rounder? Pretty good hit for an edge.
Yeah, I just I think as far as Cooper goes, I feel like he's available, which is a big start for this team.
God,
especially at that position.
Yeah. Without a doubt, the best ability is availability. And availability, Alabama Green coming in here. Always good to see you, AS. Saying, morning, guys. Great show. Hope you're doing well. Kevin Gray also in the house. And good morning, Broncos Country. Nick and Scott. A big mile high salute to Broncos Country. Came in late. We'll go back and watch the whole show. Well, that's good to hear. Hope you're doing well. Got our guy Michael Ronquillo talking about Arizona here earlier. Saying, good morning, Nick and Scott on Broncos for breakfast. Go Broncos and Buckham. God bless you, Michael. We appreciate that. Always coming in.
Real quick, thank you for the stars, Michael. And Michael, I was about to check on you on Twitter. Hadn't seen you in a couple days. I'm like, wow, let's make sure Michael's okay. If I don't see Michael for a couple days, I see Michael when I see my children. I'm like, wait a minute. Where's Sean? Oh, he's playing PlayStation for the last 48 hours. He's at some game, some practice. But Michael, where's Michael?
Yeah. Yep.
So
Hopefully,
good to
well,
see you, buddy.
good to see you, Michael. I see Michael on Twitter sometimes, commenting on some things, liking some things. So good to see you, Michael, on here hanging out. Troy coming in with the second super chat today saying, Scott, if the cap were not an issue, what are a couple of trades between the Falcons and the Broncos that could improve both teams? This is an article idea. I don't know. This is a.
Oh man, that's a great question. I think what are the Falcons? The Falcons. The problem is a lot of the weaknesses for the Falcons right now are probably in the same spot. If I had the biggest need for the Falcons,
the easy one,
edge.
I was going to say Falcons need wide receiver 2 or 3, and the Broncos seem like they have like unlimited number of wide receiver 2, 3, 4s right now, and the Broncos need defensive line depth.
That's a good one. So who do you take out of there now? I've said there. I'd rather have Matt Hennessy than the center who's lined up at guard right now. He's starting guard. He'll probably end up being a backup. I'd rather have Matt Hennessy than Cushing. I'm sorry, Cushionberry.
Yeah.
Going up the ladder just a little bit, running back room looks pretty damn good. Can you imagine? You want to throw me somebody, Tyler Algier, for it's going to cost you a little bit more than a third wide receiver.
Yeah,
you're gonna have to start talking a little bit higher. Cornerback depth is still a little iffy on there for the Broncos, so I don't think you'd want to be trading a corner. But that's a good shout. The Falcons' weakness where the strength meets the Broncos is probably wide receiver as far as depth goes. Yep. That's a good shout.
I would say Taquan Graham for Cortland Sutton or Tim Patrick, like one of those ones. Graham has been really good, but you paid a lot for that defensive line group, and he's backup right now. That's kind of the position the Broncos really need on that defensive line right now. I know we love him, Scott, but Tim Patrick's a really good player as well.
The way you love your cost controls.
Yeah.
And a 5th round draft pick in his 3rd year coming off an injury. Now he's out there. He's back.
Yeah.
He's back quickly. Taquan Graham was forced out there as a rookie and was way in over his head in 2021. In 2022, he was damned good on the interior line. Got hurt week 11, but he's back out there. Prying Taquan Graham away from the Falcons would seriously help the Denver Broncos. And that'd be a big one for a Cortland Sutton. Maybe.
I mean, I think that the fit of both of those players would make sense on the Falcons as well. Just the type of body. You take Hollins out for some of those, you get the physicality on the outside, especially guys who can play X.
Interesting.
That's one.
What a great question, Troy. And I think you nailed it, Nick. That's really interesting. I probably would want a sweetener in that.
Yeah, like a 5th round
on the Atlanta Falcons side. I'd want some money.
Okay.
You cover part of his contract because I'm giving you a guy that's making peanuts as a 5th round pick.
Yep.
I'd probably want some money involved. But that's a really, really interesting. The thing is a lot on the interior line. I mean, you got Onyemata in free agency who isn't an old guy. No. He's older. He's a veteran guy. Man, Taquan Graham could be an anchor on the defensive line for the next 7-8 years. Grady Jarrett's getting older. Onyemata's in his 30. Your really only young defensive lineman on the Falcons right now is Taquan Graham. So I like it, Troy. I like it, Nick, but you're going to have to send me a sweetener with it. It's not going to be straight up with contracts.
Yeah. Maybe it'd be something where you send back a Wuzurike or something with it as well, just to have a young body contract in there. And we get a fringe wide receiver who's more of a special teams kind of guy on that team. I don't know. Interesting comment there, Troy. That's one that sticks out to me. Where are the strengths right now? Falcons need wide receiver. Broncos have a lot of depth at wide receiver. Broncos need defensive line. Falcons have a lot of depth on the defensive line. Just
finally
stands out to me.
Shock.
Yeah, God, it's going to be nice. You're going to really enjoy the waves that you can send at teams there. 34 minutes in. Want to say a little Lawrence very first saying, how well do you think Mahomes' health is going to hold up knowing he's injured almost every season now? He's been playing damn well, still injured, so I don't know if it matters. Honestly, he's just plays with such a weird, awkward, kind of uncoordinated. It's like he's like Jokic almost. He's like doesn't look super coordinated or athletic in some of his movements, but then he just delivers unbelievable footballs on timing and pace and off platform and whatnot. So I honestly don't think it truly matters that much unless it's serious.
He started 17 games each of the last 2 years.
Yeah.
He's not injured any more than any other quarterback out there. I wouldn't exactly call him banged up. And he's got enough of a pocket presence that he won't have to rely on his legs as he gets older. When he starts reaching his 30s, he can still be a phenomenal quarterback. So knowing he's injured almost every season now. Like I said, he's played last 2 seasons. He's played 17. He has started 17.
More than that because the playoffs.
Yeah, he's there's nothing wrong with Patrick Mahomes' health.
Yeah, unfortunately, and also because of who he is and where the Chiefs are at, any little thing he does, they're going to trip over themselves to praise him for the injury. He has like a ingrown toenail. It's like, oh my God, what a miracle this is. This guy, such grit. What an incredible competitor.
He's not always needed.
No.
His record of his most impressive stat might be his freaking record. I hate to go off on Patrick Mahomes here, but Lawrence, when you asked that, I looked it up. I mean, he played one game. He started one game as a rookie. He was 1-0. Then his starting quarterback record after that is 12-4, 11-3, 14-1, 12-5, 14-3. He is 64-16. He's putting himself in a position where some of these nagging injuries, you don't necessarily need to have him in. Players get banged up all the time. They're playing injured. Everybody's playing injured by week 10.
Yeah.
It just becomes more of an issue when you're talking about playoffs or playing in high-profile games. It is the most high-profile player in the league right now. So Patrick Mahomes ain't going anywhere, dude. Sorry for Broncos. Happy for the NFL because he's a fun player to watch. Coach Chris, I was just thinking when you came in, we haven't seen you in a little while. It's been a while, fellas. Well, welcome back. Good to be back. It's almost football time. Damn, I can't wait. Unlike years past, I'm excited to see what this team with the new quality coach can do. Denver Broncos for life. Thanks for being here, Chris. Hope you've enjoyed your spring and the first little bit of summer too.
Yeah, appreciate you, Coach Chris. $20, that helps us a heck of a lot. So thank you for keeping the lights on in here and contributing to Broncos for Breakfast. We hope that hopefully that'll go to good use. Maybe it'll be a beer. Who knows? Maybe it'll be groceries. But we appreciate the heck out of you keeping the lights on. Jeremy Sean coming in saying, can 64th overall picks be bust? At what point does it make it without being labeled as a bust? Absolutely. Anybody in the top 100 draft picks can be a bust, in my opinion. I would even say the top 120. I mean, how much did the Broncos get out of McTelvin Agene at 95 overall? You hope that guy, at least like all the way down there, becomes a rotational player. And I don't even know if he played more than 100 snaps for his time with the Broncos. He didn't even make it through his rookie contract. So yeah, I think top 100 picks can be bust. Now the size of the bust they are definitely depends on how close to the top they were, what resources you gave up. But yeah, top 100 picks can certainly be bust if they don't play up and contribute to the team. And last season, if last season is what Nick Bonito does the next 2 in Denver, or 1 if he's not here after that, then yes, he is a bust, especially considering what came after.
Yeah, and that's the point. It was some of the guys that came afterwards. Can they be busts? If I've got a second-round pick, I'm expecting them to be a starter before their career is over. Even third round, I'm expecting them to be a starter because I can get starters in the third round pretty reliably, especially on the offensive lines. I can get linebackers. I can get starters at the non-premium positions in the second and third round without a doubt.
Yeah.
So if I get 0 from my second round pick, it's a bust. A second round pick should be someone that is a big time contributor over the course of their career. I agree with that one.
Yeah, without a doubt. And let's get on to the topic of the show today. So NFL.com recently, Bucky Brooks listed the top 4 offenses and the top 4 defenses that will have big improvements this upcoming season. They make the biggest jump this upcoming fall. And luckily for Broncos country, Bucky Brooks believes that the Broncos are going to be one of the most improved offenses in the entire NFL this upcoming season. This is what Bucky Brooks wrote. The Broncos last season, they were the 32nd overall scoring offense and the 21st overall total offense. 32nd, God, after trading for Russell Wilson. That is just unbelievable. It still makes me want to slap myself in the face to wake up from this damn nightmare. So he writes, Sean Payton's arrival should stabilize an offense that was a staggering disappointment under his predecessor, the one-and-done head coach Nathaniel Hackett. Payton has directed some of the league's top offenses over the past 2 decades, utilizing a variety of concepts and personnel groupings to create mismatches all over the field. As a masterful play designer with ample experience coaxing the most out of an aging quarterback, Payton can alleviate Russell Wilson's issue through clever scheming and superb game management. Moreover, the veteran play caller will maximize a supporting cast with promising potential, thus eliminating the need for the 34-year-old quarterback to play like a one-man show. as the Broncos embrace a more balanced approach this upcoming season, with the ground attack featured prominently in the game plan. The Super Bowl winning head coach's immediate imprint on the unit could help Denver reemerge as a playoff contender this season. So Bucky Brooks buying stock on the Broncos and buying stock in Sean Payton, making it not all about Russell Wilson and making it about the overall functioning of the offense.
Yeah, there's good news and bad news. And someone said in there earlier, apologies, I don't remember who it was, but the good news is you should be a lot better based on the people you've brought in are at the top of their profession. That's great. I don't care where you finished last year. That's always a good thing. Always get better. Always get better.
Yep.
The bad news was it really can't get any worse. You've hit freaking bottom. It can't. Nick, I know we say that, but it can't get any worse than it did last year. Last year, again, 32nd, you were last.
Yeah.
And it was an ugly 32nd. It was discombobulated. I used all kinds of words, uncoordinated. It was a disaster.
Yeah.
So, yes, you've got the most room for improvement. That's the bad news because you were DFL. But you've brought in as good a group to turn things around as you possibly could have. You've got owners who aren't afraid to spend money to bring in some help on the offensive lines where you desperately needed it. And you've got the pieces in place then to see, okay, now let's see what we've got. Let's see what we've got. We thought we were in a pretty good shape going into last year. That went horribly wrong. We're still in a similar place with a couple upgrades in personnel. Now we've got a proven track record of offensive coaching in here with a Super Bowl winning coach who's done it with a team that was the dregs of the league in the New Orleans Saints. What can he come in and do with the resources we have here with the Denver Broncos? Yeah. Will Russell ever be all-pro again? Probably not. No. He won't be the guy he was last year. It's not going to happen.
And the other thing is after last season where, Russ given his offense and a lot of call on the offensive scheme, coming in and allegedly, changing game plans and stuff, the Thursday, the last practice before the game, after the coaches and whatnot put together game plans. That won't fly this year under Sean Payton. And hopefully there's been a little bit of realization / I don't want to say humbling, but realization.
I will.
Russell, yeah, okay.
I'll say humbling. I will absolutely say humbling. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Humbling.
Yep.
Okay, I need help.
Yep.
I need help, coach. What do you want me to do? I've been humbled. This was the worst year of football of my entire life. Let's fix it. Tell me what to do. I'll do it.
Yeah, and just understanding how he needs to play. Listening to a coach like Sean Payton come in and being like, listen, this is what you do well. I'm going to maximize this and hide this other stuff versus whatever the hell it was that we saw last season. So that was obviously not very good with the Broncos having the 32nd overall offense. So being humbled and having somebody like Sean Payton who can come in and has this experience and whatnot that can say, listen, I know you're Russell Wilson. You've been these Pro Bowls this time. You've been a great quarterback. But we all saw what happened last year. That doesn't fly. That doesn't work. We all know that. You want to be this again? No. And I know that, Russell Wilson puts up the persona of, everything's awesome, kind of a little bit of corny, whatnot. But no doubt last season, what he was hearing and seeing and how he played hurt. And he doesn't want to do that again.
I worked for a company where I'd walk into an executive meeting and I had the Everything is Awesome song in my head for the Legos. And that one and Johnny Lang's Lie to Me. Lie to me and tell me everything is all right. I'm like, those are our 2 theme songs here. Yes, that company went bankrupt. So again, flowing with this conversation about how much better it can get, Jason has a question that fits in nicely here. He says, if Russell Wilson has 35 touchdowns against 15 interceptions with a 65% completion rate and can rush with effectiveness, what should the record be for the Broncos this year? Is that enough?
I mean, not to be that guy, Jason, but the quarterback, while that's the biggest piece of the puzzle, the defense could completely implode with this situation. We kind of saw it last season where the Broncos defense was playing really good from a lot of the stats. And then as soon as the offense ticked it up, the defense regressed massively because other teams are like, oh, we actually got to try to score a little bit here because the Broncos offense isn't completely inept anymore. So with this kind of record, I'm expecting the Broncos to make the playoffs this season. I would say 9 wins is probably where I'd put them at, maybe 10. But I want to see what the rest of the pieces of the puzzle would look like as well. But this is, that's monumentally a monumental improvement compared to last season.
11-6. I'll get straight to the point. I think you're 11-6 and you make the playoffs, Jason. Finish probably second in the West. Throw in 35 touchdowns, 15 interceptions. It's been a long time since anybody's thrown 35 touchdowns in Denver. And that would probably be in the neighborhood of 4,500 yards as well. And you're going to run the ball. So, 4,000 yards, 65% completions, a better than a 2-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. You're going to score points with those numbers without a doubt, because you're going to run the ball as well. So I would say 11-6 would be a good bet on that. Jason, come back and remind us at the end of the year, see how close we were. I don't see those would be amazing numbers. You take that in a heartbeat. If you could say, okay, you snatch your hand off at that. These are the numbers I'm going to give you for the future. Will you take them? Yes, I will. I would absolutely take them. Heath Holmes coming in. Appreciate you coming in. He says, morning, Nick and Scott. Been a minute. You guys get me through my construction job. Glad we can be here for you. We are glad you are here for us. Clutchmaster coming in with a super chat over on YouTube, coming in yellow. He says, morning, Broncos country. Still hoping for a signing of Dalvin Cook or one more defensive lineman. Nick, what do you think?
They're going to bring in, I think, more likely another defensive lineman. We might see running back, but it seems like they're going to see how that third position plays out between all the shotgun approach they have on that spot right now and following Javonte Williams' injury. So I don't know if they're going to be spending that money on a running back, especially after they went out there and paid for Frank Clark. But defensive lineman, I expect that to be a position, especially towards the end of the roster, where we could see a few different guys, rotate in and out before we have our final kind of set guys, or maybe it's a position that they're weak at all season. But I'm guessing they're going to be hunting on that position based on what we see from Wazirike and Hennessy going forward.
Wrong Hennessy. Matt Henningsen.
Henningsen. Yes, you're correct.
Yeah, it's covering two teams can be tough when you've got Mike Purcell and who was the other one? Who's the other Mike P for the Falcons? I've already forgotten him, but they had two that almost had identical names. Pennell. It was Mike Pennell and Mike Purcell, Matt Hennessy and Matt Henningsen.
Yeah,
so
God.
We're gonna send you Matt Hennessy as a center from Atlanta and make it really confusing. I think you will make some changes. Your transactions are never, ever, ever done throughout the course of the year. You move guys in and out of the practice squad, call it the 70-man roster, 53 plus 16 practice squad. Clutchmaster, I think you'll see some moves to be made. Now, Dalvin Cook, I'm not sure what the holdup is here. Where is Miami in this? Because I know he wants to play at Miami. I don't know if Miami really wants him. That would seem to be the holdup for me, Nick.
I think Miami wants him, but it's just money. I think it's just guarantees and whatnot on that contract. Yep. Also, it's the offseason program. I mean, somebody's going to snatch up one of these, Hunt, Elliott, Cook, and maybe these guys don't want to go through the entire, training camp process. Maybe, a little closer to the end of the season, even playing preseason games. So we'll see what happens. And we got A.Q. Dragonson. Russell Wilson has thrown for 35 touchdowns or more twice in his career. The other one that sticks out to me with that question was 65% completion. Was it 65? Yeah. Russell Wilson typically has one of the highest average yards per attempt of any quarterback in the league, which makes it harder to have a high completion percentage because, quite frankly, he struggles in the middle of the field in the quick game. So to have that 65 is a good number as well, given it probably comes in tandem with more aggressive down the field passing. So maybe that 9 wins.
64.6 career passer.
Yep. But I'm more interested in the yards per attempt because that's I think that would be higher than average.
It's gone. It actually got more efficient in 18, 19, and 20 Pro Bowl years. I mean, he was Pro Bowl almost all of his career. But you look at his numbers, and it was, in 16 and 17, it was 7.7 and 7.2 per attempt. And then his efficiency got better 18, 19, and 20, where he was, 35 and 7, 31 and 5, 40 and 13 on touchdowns, interceptions, all good. And then completion percentage rate was 65.6, 66.1, 68.8 with an 8.1, 8.0, and 7.5 completions per attempt. That dropped to 7.3 last year, which was the second worst in his career. So again, if the numbers you put up there are pretty much on par with the best of Russell Wilson, which would be, yes, please. That's the guy we traded for, right?
Yeah. Other than the numbers you listed, maybe a little bit high on the interception side of thing, but it would be a monumental improvement from the ratio from last season, which was just abysmal, just terrible. So hopefully it'll be better this season. So before we start closing on up here, Scott, what do you think about Bucky Brooks's prediction here about the Broncos being improved that much? Any takeaways from the overall article, really emphasizing Sean Payton and everything like that? And before that, the other teams he listed here, as far as the teams that would improve the most on offense, Chicago Bears, the New York Jets, and the Pittsburgh Steelers. The 4 teams on defense that he listed were the Detroit Lions, the Miami Dolphins, the Minnesota Vikings, and the Seattle Seahawks. So Broncos.
Throw in the Falcons on that one too.
On defense? Yeah, probably. Yeah.
With all the group that they put in there. Now, what have the Steelers done to improve that much on offense other than get a second year out of Kenny Pickett?
The offensive line.
Did they put some money into the OL? I didn't pay that close attention to the Steelers.
And draft picks.
That helps.
Yeah. Should help a lot. So I don't know if they still have Matt Canada there. He's been abysmal, terrible as their offensive coordinator, but we'll see. And we got Bronco Beat coming in. Man, good luck to you. Gentlemen, I own a roofing company in Arizona. Had a foreman call out today. Pinch hitting, 114 but close to 130 on the roof. Thank you for joining me in my AirPods. God, protect yourself, sunscreen, cover yourself, drink water, drink Gatorade. Just don't get hurt. My God, that sounds
safe. Be safe out there. Be safe. Take care of yourself out there. That's silly hot. Getting back to Bucky Brooks, what do I think? Again, I want to know, what are your predictions? Yeah, the Broncos will get better. Yeah, they will.
Yeah.
Now, if they finished 32nd last year, where do you put them this year? 16?
You're hoping that 20 is as worse as it gets this season, which would be a huge jump. Going from 32 to 20 is massive. But somewhere 10 to 20 is it's kind of a wide range, but that's really what you're hoping for this season with an offense or with a defense that's hopefully 5 to 15.
Yeah, that's where, I said if you jump up to average, that would be a huge, huge improvement. Anything more than that, again, and if you go up to average and keep close to your defensive numbers, it can regress a little bit. You're a playoff team.
Yep.
You're a playoff team. So I would, again, I'm a little on the cynical side. The 16 to 20 feels like should be a realistic goal. It could be better than that. It could be.
Yeah.
It could be. I'll set the over under on points and or yards at 16.
16. I think I'd probably set it at 18 just because I really need to see it with Russell Wilson still to believe it. But I think that's a good call. And the last bit here, we're talking about offense and defense improving. And everyone drink. I haven't done it yet today. I haven't mentioned them, but I saw a team last season that was worse on offense win more games in my Iowa Hawkeyes last year. Even worse efficiently than the Broncos who finished 32nd. But Iowa's defense was better. And also, the big kicker, the big difference, special teams. Iowa probably had the best single special teams, if not one of the top, 5 in all of college football last season, and they won games by themselves. Last season, the Broncos had arguably bottom 5 special teams. Hopefully that'll improve greatly. And you talked about earlier, one of the first supers we had from Troy, what could improve the team a lot. Those margins probably need to give at least a little bit of credence to competency / a positive impact, potentially, from special teams. Now, we'll see about the kicking game itself, but the coverage units, that's the areas that have been driving me absolutely bonkers. And hopefully we'll see much more efficiency on that unit where the special teams can be a weapon if you use it right? It's not just there to change possessions. It can be something where you get margins in the game, be aggressive, make some differences. And Broncos have been horrible in there for the last 5-10 years. Just god awful.
The hidden yards, and it'd be nice to see a little bit more turnovers too. Again, a little more pressure on the quarterback and some more turnovers. Just more exciting football. A little more points, a little more action on defense, and not just, it's just been, it hasn't been a fun team to watch the last 2 seasons.
But it's going to be fun this year. And we had a lot of fun today, guys. We're it's 8:30 Mountain Time, so it's time to wrap it on up. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. God, so many super chats that came in. I saw we had Lawrence Rivera in the house. Of course, Clutchmaster59, appreciate you. Coach Chris, good to see you, Coach Chris. Troy Bauer coming in with 2 super chats. Gary Palmer, Michael Ronquillo. Did I miss anybody on the Facebook side of things?
We got Keith. Did we say Keith? Keith, thank you for your contributions as always.
Yeah, shout out to you guys. Thank you so much for the support, and thank you to everybody who came in today and hung out with us on this fine Tuesday morning. Make sure you're following Scott and I on Twitter. Scott is at Scout Kennedy. I am at Nick Kendall MHH. Also follow us at BFB_pod and of course at Mile High Huddle. If you haven't done so yet, join us on Facebook at facebook.com/Mile High Huddle and facebook.com/Mile High Huddle pod. And as the ticker is showing there underneath, if you're joining us on YouTube today or you just have a YouTube account in general, please subscribe to the channel, like the show, and share on your social media platforms. Scott, it's good to be back. It's going to be a little bit more normal here for the next few weeks.
I wouldn't say that. I'm out Thursday.
It's not going to be normal here. Everything's chaos. We're not going to sure what's going on. Not sure what's going on with the 4th of July anyway, but it's good.
Big baseball tournament. I think we play at 8:30 Thursday morning.
All right. Well,
5-day baseball tournament. So I will be out, but we will be here. I know we'll see Roderick. We'll see Jeremy. Hope to see a bunch of y'all tomorrow at 9 a.m. on youtube.com/Scott Kennedy. We'll be talking Falcons. We're also going to talk the fantasy rankings. I want to get into those a little bit. So that will be more of an overarching show about where the PFF Dynasty fantasy rankings came in, because I got a bone to pick with a few of those picks.
It's going to be fun to see, no doubt. But guys, we appreciate you. We'll see you again live tomorrow. I'll be back again live tonight on Building the Broncos with Carl Dumler. But until then, you guys continue to choose kindness and compassion. Have a great Tuesday. Hopefully your week is going well, and we will see you later. Go Broncos.